Hi, welcome back to the Nourishing Roots channel. Today I'm going to show you how to prepare for going on holiday whilst in recovery from an eating disorder. So this is a topic that's really quite prominent for me at the moment because so many of us in recovery from an eating disorder go away during summertime or even the winter time, and we can get really stumped as to how to continue our good habits when we go away abroad, go away with family and friends, because your whole recovery routine can go up in the air and it can make you feel really anxious, really worried, and instead of actually enjoying the holiday, your thoughts might jump to, how am I going to cope? Will I want to restrict again? What's the time zone going to be like? Will I be able to still eat my regular meals and snacks? It's just a very, very mind-boggling topic. And the reason why this is quite key for me at the moment is because a few months ago, I booked a lifelong dream of a trip to Florida Disney World. Now, going back a couple of years ago, that just would not have been a possibility at all. I was so caught up in the rigidity of my struggles with eating disorder habits and counting calories and being really rigid around food. So going somewhere like Florida, which I call as being off-grid and off the system, where there's no room for calorie counting really, you can't control what your meal's going to look like, you won't be preparing most of your meals. Now, going to Florida back then would have been just a near enough impossibility. It would have filled me with dread and fear, and instead of enjoying what would have been a lovely holiday, I would have probably just been panicking around food 24/7. But this time around, because I'm recovered, now I can fully enjoy Florida just to its absolute ultimate potential. So I know this time I'm not going to be worried about food. I'll be able to enjoy all the range of foods on offer, eat all the little snacks in between as well, and not follow rigid meal routines or times. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can cope with an upcoming holiday, whether that's this year or next year. And I'll also be referring to how I'm going to cope too when I go to Florida, just so I can also stay on track, and keep in recovered mode, because, even in recovery and full recovery, it's easy for anorexia sometimes to slip back in, or whatever form of eating disorder you may have had. So it's good to have some tips in mind so you can enjoy your holiday to the full. So let's get going with the tips. My first tip is to know who you're going away with. So you might be going away with family, friends, or even someone you might not know that well. You might even be travelling alone. But if you are going away with somebody else, I'd really kind of advise to tell someone in your holiday party, whether it's your mum, dad, a boyfriend, or just a friend, about your personal struggles. So they might be aware already that you have an eating disorder or are in recovery, but you can take that a little bit further by explaining what your current routine is around recovery, and the fact that you might have to probably stop for snacks, meals, and maybe not at specific times, that you don't really have to be rigid with this, but just allowing someone to be aware that your needs are still really important to be aware of while on holiday, just so you don't have someone who might book an all-day tour and there's not really much time for lunch, or you might be going somewhere that doesn't really offer that much food and it's just snacks out there. And the last thing you want is to kind of be thrown into the deep end and not have any snacks on you or any form of food available and end up skipping a meal. Just because it's easy, when you're in recovery, to skip a meal, and then suddenly that then becomes, okay, I need to skip the next snack, or I need to eat less tomorrow, all that malarkey. So first tip, definitely tell someone and just make them aware of your personal needs and also what your recovery routine looks like. And even though you might not be able to stick to your full 100% plan with that, just allowing someone to be aware of your needs just can help you stay on track a little bit and give you a little nudge when you need to eat. My second tip is to just take along some snacks with you for the holiday. So what I mean by this is, you don't by any means have to take a whole box or trundle, whatever a trundle is, of snacks that feel safe, but just something just to have in your bag at all times, something when you might be travelling on a plane or a long car journey, just in case you are stuck in a situation where you have no access to food and you might be panicking, or your blood sugar might drop a little bit low and you just need to have something quite handy. Also, it's just for mental reassurance. So for me, when I go away to Florida, I'll definitely pack some snacks along with me, but, and a big but, I'm mainly going to allow room for just freedom on the holiday with food. So most of the time I'm going to be eating what's there, I'm going to be going to all sorts of different cafes and restaurants, and by no means do I want to always be resorting to my safe or usual snacks, because I'm going on holiday for a reason, and that's to have new memories, new fun times, and I don't really want to be eating the exact same things that I'm used to at home. Occasionally that might be relevant if I'm queuing up for a ride and it's, say 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening and I'm goddamn hungry. Even if I've already had a snack, then it's good to just have some sugary things on you just to give you that bit of a boost. Especially if it's really hot and you're walking around a lot, then extra snacks is really good to have in your bag or just in your pocket, just somewhere that's accessible. Also related to bringing along snacks with you is to set yourself some challenges for when you're away that are related to the country that you're going to or the area of a country you're going to. So by this I mean, say for example, I'm going to Florida, so I'm going to set myself a challenge of eating as many Mickey-shaped things as I can. So I really want to try some Mickey-shaped waffles, some Mickey-shaped pretzels, some Mickey-shaped chocolates, all those types of treats. And for you, it might mean if you're going to France, you might want to challenge yourself to have a croissant, some type of pastry, especially if you're going to a lovely country like Denmark or somewhere in Austria where they have all sorts of beautiful cakes and luxury items that, for a normal person would be so nice to just have. But if you've previously struggled with having those types of foods, going on holiday is just a time to switch the refresh button and say, I'm in a whole new environment, a whole new world, let's sod the usual routine, let's sod the safe snacks, and let's challenge myself to something that I genuinely want. Because, the holiday is about making memories and making cultural connections to where you are. And I can hand on heart say we'll definitely be able to make so much more better memories if we have foods that are new, they're related to the area that we're travelling to, instead of sticking along with what we associate with eating at home. My next tip is to be aware of how you can reduce your anxiety levels when you're away or when travelling. So if you know that your need for restriction and control around food is heightened when you're feeling anxious, then it's really key to look at ways that you can reduce anxiety on your trip. So for example, for me, I'll be travelling on a plane for 9 hours from the UK to Florida. Now for someone who has a massive fear of planes, like an absolutely huge fear of planes, that is going to send my anxiety right up here. Now in the past, I would probably resort to, I won't eat on a plane, I won't have snacks, I'll just reduce my anxiety that way. But that is just not an option anymore. It would be like giving a glass of wine to a recovering alcoholic, and I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the best ways that I can reduce anxiety around my holiday. So for me, if you're going to an airport and you're also quite fearful around travelling, then a good way of reducing your anxiety is to get to the airport early, whether that's 2 or 3 hours before your flight time. Bring along some really distracting activities for the plane or the journey down to wherever you're going. So I'm going to be bringing some colouring books, I'm going to download some podcasts on my phone, I'll also have some films to watch while I'm on the plane. I'm also going to take all my nice little luxury skincare items for while I'm travelling, so I can take off my makeup, put it back on, just for the pure fact of just killing some time. And if I'm feeling anxious, I'll have something to distract myself with. I often sometimes usually bring a book, but for me when I'm flying, I find it really hard to concentrate on reading. And the same goes for you. If you feel comfortable reading a book to help distract you and reduce your anxiety, that's great, do that. But if not, you could download an audiobook, a podcast, or bring along another little activity that'll, make you feel a bit more relaxed. Like you could bring a magazine. I was thinking of even bringing some cross stitches with me, but up to now I'm not really sure if I can bring a needle on a plane, so. My next tip is about dealing with time zone differences. So this can be a bit of a struggle if you're used to eating at certain times for meals and snacks, but then suddenly your face is travelling to a country that's 5 hours behind you in terms of time, or it might be 5 hours ahead or even more in terms of time. So let me put this into a bit of perspective. When I travel to Florida, I'll be, hang on a second, they will be 5 hours behind me when we get there. And my flight's around 10 a.m. in the morning. So I could, if I wanted to, and going against the grain of recovery, decide, I'll skip breakfast that day and wait to just have something on the plane at 10 o'clock to kind of help me adjust to the time zone. But I know if I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning to catch a flight and get to the airport early, I'm going to be really, really hungry by the time I even get on the flight. So instead of skipping breakfast or skipping meals while you're travelling, try and just integrate some additional snacks into your diet for the day. And I know that might sound scary, and additional items might seem like, oh, whoa, I don't want to add any extra calories into my day, especially if you're fearful around eating too much when you're away on holiday anyway. But I think it's really important because it's also sending a message that you're willing to be a bit more spontaneous and be a little bit flexible. And there's nothing worse in recovery than still eating a good amount of food and getting your body to a healthier weight, but still having all these rigid restrictions around times and controls and safe foods. So if you are travelling to a different time zone, make sure you have some additional snacks ready. Also, if you're on the plane and you might not want their food because they might not have any options that you particularly want, or just feels like you might feel a little bit queasy on the plane eating food when you get a little bit travel sick, just always have some snacks to hand, some calorie dense snacks such as you could pick up some cereal bars, some nut and energy bars while in the airport. And because they're dry ingredients sort of things, you can also pack them in your carry-on anyway, which is what I like to do. So yeah, that's a tip for travelling to different time zones. My final tip and most important tip is to say yes to new things and spontaneity. So the worst thing that could happen actually if you go away on holiday is if you completely abide by the restrictions that your eating disorder currently set in your life back home or before you entered recovery. So if you go on holiday with the mindset that I'm going to take my safe snacks along with me, I'm going to eat at my exact same times, then that's not really a holiday and you're going to end up still caught up in a cycle of restriction, worrying around food, where instead you could actually say, I'm going to use this holiday as a window of opportunity to aid my recovery. So for me, when I go to Florida, I'm going to be going around, there's something called Epcot Food and Wine Festival, which is a festival that's centred all around food and drink, and there's all sorts of little food and hors d'oeuvres to try as you're going around. Now I could say, I'm not going to try anything from there, or you could say I'm not going to try anything off that food market, or when I go on a tour I'm just going to eat my safe snacks. And that is just a complete obliteration of holiday. That is just saying yes to my eating disorder and no to life. So what I'm going to do, and what you could do as well, is say, I'm going to say yes to ordering something new. I'm going to say yes to trying something I've never tried before. I'm gonna say yes to that little snack when someone offers me it when I'm travelling around a nice foreign market. Or I'm gonna go to a new cafe, I'm gonna sit there with a lovely cappuccino, order a croissant, order something off the menu that I don't know the calories of. And when you do that, that's not just enjoying your holiday, that's allowing you to then reintegrate those challenges back home too. So you can create a holiday as a way of actually recovering to that next level. And for me, Florida is definitely all about that, because it's still easy even in full recovery to still stick with the usual types of foods you eat and snacks. When you're abroad, that often can't happen. Like, you're completely thrown into a new form of environment with new times, new foods, new rituals around foods and all sorts of things. And instead of saying no to that and sticking by your own rules, then you just have to say, you know what, that can go out the window for a short period of time. And for now, I'm just going to leave the eating disorder behind. I'm going to leave it back home. It's not getting on the plane with me, or it's not travelling with me. And then that way you can fully embrace life in your holiday and make memories that not only make you smile, but also make your recovery so much more worthwhile. So from those tips, I'd just like to say, if you are going on holiday, don't worry too much. Just try and make sure you have some snacks along with you. Make a plan to talk to someone who you're going with just to make them aware of your needs. And most importantly, have some fun, because you deserve it. And let's face it, how much life have you missed from struggling with an eating disorder already? Do you really want that to affect your holidays as well? So with your answer in mind, take whatever you can to make your holiday as enjoyable as possible, as fun as possible, and as ED free as possible. So finally, I'd just like to say thanks for listening to this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, you can press the like button below, subscribe to this channel, where I'll be showing you more things that you can do to develop a positive relationship with your food and body. So again, thank you, and I will see you soon. Bye.